Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. This week, we have, I think, a pretty loaded topic, but it was tough to actually get a few people interested in talking about it today. But Chris Roberts dropped, or I guess CIG dropped, the new roadmap. Chris Roberts dropped the letter for the chairman and the financials. So there's quite a bit to look at there, and I think there's quite a bit to talk about. Real quick, just my thoughts on things to get the juices flowing for the chat and anybody who's going to be watching on YouTube is the new roadmap I think is good. I think it's very good to be open because that's what they said they would be. And this is as open book as you can be, right? This is what we're currently working on at this moment. But I find to be the fact that they still have release view, and this is, we've discussed this before when they just generally talked about the roadmap. The current roadmap as we see it today, I prefer better than what he is stating they plan to do in the letter for the chairman. So what he says in the letter for the chairman is that they plan to add the rest of the teams, because there's only 20 teams right now, which is good. But they also are planning on, for release view, to show the rest of the quarters now. But then have them like grayed out so it is more obvious that they're reaching for those goals, but they aren't set in stone yet. What we have now is only 313 on release view. I believe that's how it should be. Anything that you're pretty set in stone you're going to be able to get, show that in release view. Don't show anything else. What is the purpose? I don't get it. All right. The other things from letter for the chairman, which I found really interesting, was like I don't know how else to describe it, but at the end, he calls out old backers, original backers, and is like, hey guys, we got this. You don't need to spend any more money because we got new guys that we can milk for money. I found that one to be really weird. I actually have some notes I should take a quick look at. But yeah, that one was really weird for me. Was like, hey guys, you don't need to spend any more money. Just play the game. That's good enough. I think that's like a good statement to make, but really weird because like he also implies that like, oh, these new people will spend. Yeah. The other thing is they're going to add core tech in January. So that's a big one that we don't see where server meshing is yet, but we can kind of figure out where it might be based on what things might release in the future. And then for Squadron 42, the fact that the briefing room is gone, they completely backtracked on that after it was like this huge disaster that everyone in the Star Citizen community wanted to see. Backtracking on the fact that they're really not going to share anything, but staying pat. I'm really curious what you guys think about this. This was actually the planned episode from last week, was they stayed pat on I am not releasing this game until it's polished and until it's done. And he even cited the fact that, hey, we saw a lot of like really highly anticipated games get released this year, and they release buggy. So I'm not doing that. And I think that that's really strong. I think that's really good. But I think there's going to be some backlash for it. I think that's a really polarizing statement that he made there. So I'm curious what you guys think about that. And then lastly, the financials. The only thing that sticks out to me is in 2019, we definitely started to get more traffic. And under the line of where server costs would be, they were expensive. So I'm really curious. And I always tie the server costs to how the game might continue to be pay to win or might continue to be selling ships throughout the entire process of the game, always selling concept ships, having more attention paid to that than the focus of the game is if server, like 2019, we did not have anywhere near as many people playing as we did in 2020. I think next year's financial report is going to be very telling as to the funding model of Star Citizen and its longevity. So with that said, those are kind of all my thoughts on those things. That's why I think it's like a pretty deep topic and a lot of things that people might want to talk about. We're going to bring on the fan favorite, Unmatched. Unmatched, welcome, man. How you doing?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. What's up?
Right, good, good. So, the roadmap. Let's get into the roadmap.
Okay.
Uh, I'll first talk about Star Citizen. Then we could go into Squadron 42 and the
What little is
what
on the
Chris.
roadmap for it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, but not that. Mostly about the letter from the chairman. You know,
What he said about Squadron there is what you mean. Okay.
yeah, yeah. What he
Gotcha.
said about there, and you mentioned that you know, him not wanting to release the game and stuff, and because of what happened this year, along with Cyberpunk and stuff, I could get into that too at the starting of getting into the letter for the chairman,
Okay, well,
maybe
let's
for
start
like
out with
a
the
minute or
roadmap.
so. Yeah, all right. So, there's just like 5 or 6 things I really care about on the current roadmap for 3.13.
Okay.
The I have a list of them right here, and what I could imagine happening. They said they'll be adding new entrances to planetary caves, which means that we'll be able to drive in and fly into the caves now, and I could see how this could turn into be, like maybe you could take your habitation modules that they've been showing us in the future and put them in there. Other than that, you could probably have like straight fly through caves that a lot of people could use to evade other people, like bounty hunters and stuff like that. I could see that happening with what they described on the roadmap. um the next thing that I'm excited about, but can be abused by the community, is displaying names and serial numbers. I think the serial numbers will add a little bit of uh immersion, just like how cars and everything have serial numbers on them, their vid numbers and stuff like that. That'll be nice, but I hope they they gauge the custom ship names on certain ships so people don't abuse it, you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
of course, but I think just to be like a sci-fi space game, like any sci-fi you watch, when you contact somebody, you don't contact the person, you contact the ship. And it's
Yeah,
always called by the ship. So I think this is like a natural move and it kind of makes sense.
yeah.
But, you're going to get some ridiculous names no matter what.
Yeah. The third thing that I'm excited for is the introduction of visual wear and tear on ships as they age and degrade.
Mhm.
That's a thing. I hope to God they get rid of all the scratches in my Starfare and stuff like that. Like the first thing you notice, like when you look at the glass in a Starfare, is it's all scratched up and stuff like that. I'm like, this is supposed to be a clean ship. I hope they get rid of all the I know set pieces on in ships and stuff to make them look already lived in, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I hope they get rid of that so you can make it your own. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully since ships don't stick around long, they'll have like an accelerated version of the wear and tear on the ship. Maybe like, oh, if you could keep the ship for like up to a week, it'll show its maximum wear and tear look or whatever, until we get the full game where you could span that out for like years or something like that.
So, I'm curious. You have not mentioned the progress tracker at all. Nothing about it. You went straight to release view and looked at what features are going to be released in 313. Do you have any thoughts on the new way they plan on displaying this?
Um, I mean, it makes it's a nice way to like display it, show us what they're working on right now and when they plan on finishing it and stuff like that. But you know, as we've seen before, nothing is really set in stone when it comes to Star Citizen, especially in the current year with this pandemic
Mhm.
and even a new strand of this virus coming out. You know what I'm saying? So we don't. I'm not gonna obsess over that. Maybe when they start opening up back the studios, you know, especially in places like California, that's good. That's gonna be a headache. You know, I won't really pay attention to when they plan on finishing that stuff because you know this whole year I watched you know
It's what they're working on.
the
It's not what they're finishing.
Yeah, yeah, what they're working on and stuff like that. It's nice to see that. I like the way they displayed it, you know, for anybody to understand what they're working on and stuff. But as for their deadlines on this progress tracker, I don't pay attention to it because I've watched the roadmaps get gutted many times. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm yeah.
you seem like you kind of agree with my original or my like early monologue where like I'm only curious about what I get in the next patch. Only tell me what I got a good chance of playing. I'm interested in what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to be
yeah,
able to play soon, right? I'm not
yeah,
interested in
yeah,
what your plans are for the next 9 months.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And the fact that we
I
all know they're
agree.
going to change.
Yeah, I would appreciate seeing what they have planned in the next month, but you're totally right when they say that. When you say that, so I don't hold that against you for saying that. You know, I want to mostly know what I'm exactly gonna get, and I don't have to watch things fall off the roadmap one by one, week after week.
Yeah.
You know, um, as they updated it. So yeah, it's a good way to it's a good way to explain to people what's coming up, how long they're going to take, and what their ETA on the features are going to be. But
Hmm.
do I really care? Like as somebody who's been back in this game for 5 years, um, yeah, I just care what's actually going to happen because I've seen the roadmap gutted so many times.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I totally agree with what you said.
one of the biggest things that they removed in by replacing it with this progress tracker is, and maybe we will be able to tell better as they update this, but we used to have the tasks, the number of tasks,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
But
now
we
we
don't
don't.
have that anymore, do we?
No.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore. Yeah, now that you said it, that's true.
So you can't
But
even
oh
see
well.
like, hey, are they making progress? So I'm curious as we
Yeah,
move and as they make progress, how this new progress tracker reads from week to week
maybe
or every other week or whatever.
maybe that because they saw that people were getting mad that things were getting added to the amount of things needed to be done for a certain tech or you know feature or something like that, and they decided not to do that. So, but
Hmm.
going back to what we were talking about, the next big thing is the Crusader ship that's going to be coming, the C2 and the what's the other one?
A2.
They're yeah, the A2 C2 there's two variants, not the bombing variant. They're not coming out with that one, but
Oh no, the
this is a
M2.
good
M2. The A2
yeah,
is
yeah,
the bomber, right?
yeah, the A2 is the bomber. That's good. I'm happy that people will be able to carry their javelins around the verse and carry around bigger things. Hoping that it'll be big enough to at least fit like a freelancer in it, but I think I'm getting my hopes up there. But
Yeah.
it's
I don't think so.
that's a good ship. That I hope that when the more weight that you put into it, it reacts to that. Maybe it'll struggle harder and stuff with that. I'd really like that. Um, but yeah, I'm happy about that. That's going to be a really big ship that's going to be in the game, and with a lot of turrets too. It has a lot of guns on it. And I'm happy that that's going to be coming in, especially with the sneak peek that we saw at the Galactic Expo. That disappointed us all because it really wasn't there, but that's water underneath the bridge now. But the next thing that I'm excited for is they plan on bringing in ship docking in 3.1.
So you're just gonna read the roadmap.
Gonna what?
You're just gonna read the roadmap and say you're excited for it. Literally everything.
No. I skipped a lot of things. I'm. This is the last thing. This is the last
This is
thing.
the last thing. Okay.
Yeah, this is the last thing, and then I'm
All
gonna
right.
get
All right.
to the letter for the chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, so they said they're gonna be able to dock the Merlin, and with that, we're gonna be able to dock to the station, and stuff like that. Now that they said, I don't see. Now that they said that they're gonna bring in this ship to space station docking thing, I don't see there being a need for smaller ships to have docking ports. I mean, I could see why bigger ones would have it, but not small ships like the Constellation or smaller than that. I don't see why you need
I
that.
think the
You
same
know?
docking collar would connect to other ships though, which is why.
Yeah, but we have EVA for that in our basic spacesuit. Like it's not like you'll be carrying big things from one spaceship to the other. You know, what I'm saying you
No,
could
why
only
would you
bring.
ever want to do that?
It's
Why
it's
would
not
you
like
ever
we can
want to do
hold
that?
anything bigger than a box.
What
So
do you mean?
there's
What are you talking about?
yeah. Well,
You're never
I
going to carry
personally
a
don't
power
too.
plant, right? You're never going to carry a power plant from one ship to another. You're never going to carry a cooler from one ship to another. You're never going to carry a
But
gun
most
from one ship
but
to another.
they can fit in your hand. That you could just EVA it.
They do not fit in your hand. What are you talking? What are you talking about?
You
You
can use a tractor
are
beam.
lost, my friend. You are
All right, all
lost.
right, all right, all right. Now moving on to the letter from the chairman. He got spicy throughout it with the bringing up without really saying it, bringing up cyberpunk, and
Yeah.
I honestly did think that cyberpunk saved Squadron 42 in a way. Like it took a bullet for Squadron 42. It
Yeah.
really did. Because it showed because squad Cyberpunk was in development for 8 years too, right? And they released with a very very buggy game. I'm playing it. I've played 50 hours of Cyberpunk. It's definitely worth the money, definitely worth playing, but it definitely took a bullet for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen development. Now we could just say look at what Cyberpunk did. You don't want a game to be released before it's done. You know what I'm saying? Even till this day, as I was playing last night, I was dealing with still like t posing bugs in Cyberpunk.
I didn't
So
get I didn't get it. Did have
yeah,
they patched it a few times already? And
yeah,
you're still
yeah,
having issues? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, but there's still glaring bugs in the game. Nothing game breaking for me yet, but it definitely calmed down the community and even me when it comes to the release date and rushing the game and stuff like that. I realized that when they posted the when RS Cloud Imperium posted the what do you call it, the teaser for Xenothreat on IGN, there wasn't a lot of salt. There wasn't as much salt as you would normally expect. And I would I would merit that to Cyberpunk showing what happens. And Cyberpunk is only a single player game. Star Citizen and Squadron 42 are being developed together, so there you go.
There you go.
I'm you got to give it to them for taking a bullet for thing, and it calmed me. It didn't just calm the I don't think it just calmed the community, it even calmed me too, just to be like, oh my god, if there's this much damn bugs in a single player game, that I definitely don't want them to be rushing Squadron 42 or Star Citizen. So but moving on from that, I was mostly interested in the numbers that he gave out in the letter for the chairman. He said 400K new accounts, 1.2
Nope.
million paying accounts in total. Um, we've played 26.5 million hours. And 740,000 unique players have logged into Star Citizen this year, and we have a daily concurrent of 30,000. I mean, 30 um 30,000 isn't bad, but for the amount of people that's backed this game and the amount of paying customers that we have, which is at 1.2 million, it's not a lot,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
think the one thing that stuck out to me, I said this early in my stream this morning, but didn't mention it in the beginning, was that quadrupling playtime, and he starts talking about like, hey, we you backers that have been there, like, I'll even read it word for word. We know that this may be hard to believe for some longtime backers who have followed the project for years and been playing since the days of driving a Greycat PTV through your hangar. Moreover, recency bias often leads us to believe that the last 30K or other game-stopping bugs means the game is buggier than ever. But in fact, it's the complete opposite is true. And it's like, okay, I don't think anybody is saying that the game is buggier than ever, but we have bugs that have existed for years. And
Mhm.
as those bugs persist and the game gets better, those bugs are more detrimental and are more game breaking. And I think that's the issue.
Mhm. But yeah, the overall like health of the game is improving. That's what he was trying to point out in the letter from the chairman, and I'm happy. I'm happy that more people are playing for longer periods of time,
Of
including
course.
myself. There's nothing more discouraging than when you log into the verse and like before you even get to your ship, you 30K out and you're just like, screw it, I'm gonna go play something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
I've had a
and
few of those moments in recent days.
yeah, yeah, most of my play sessions have been those moments.
Yeah.
I've um like I just log into the game, and by the time I request my ship, I'm running on my ship in a Tessa spaceport or whatever it's called, and I just 30K, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm not gonna go load back in, run through, have to get out my room, take the train, and do all this again just to get my train to my ship
Yeah.
again to 30K out, But there's been stuff that's improving in the verse. I love the new persistent quantum travel stuff. You can see people quantum traveling. I think that's super cool, super immersive right there. You know, it brings back the feeling when I see somebody do that. It brings back the feeling I first felt when I had like a constellation fly over me for the first time. I was just like, damn, there's somebody in there, or I had six hammerheads on screen at once. It just brings back those feelings. But yeah, the letter from the chairman, it was good. It was him flexing, the saying that the game's getting better and stuff like that. And I'm happy that it is with their 80
Hmm.
million funded this year. Um Hopefully they don't, again, you brought it up in your introduction. I hope this doesn't become like a pay to win game. I hope, I've always said I hope that Star Citizen like sell the paint, sell the cosmetics, but I'll happily pay you $20 for subscription just to not have pay to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Screw even 25. I don't care. Just don't have pay to win, because I know that from all the MMOs that I've played, and I've played many, um, payment model is one of the three pillars that you have to get right
Yes.
in
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
MMO.
And that
Yeah.
I will forever point that out because I am so nervous about it for this game. I am
Yeah,
really like I don't know. Did you ever play what was Arcade? Wasn't that game like actually good? But then they just destroyed it because of the way they tried to fund it.
I've seen many games just other than that just go from a subscription, then they slowly slide into pay to win. I've seen that. I've seen that many times. I've played just off of I have like 150 days in World of Warcraft.
Hmm.
Across my old school RuneScape accounts, I have over 200 days. I've played Guild Wars 2. I've played Aeon. I've played
All right,
you
we
know
don't need to
I've
list them off, but
yeah
most of
yeah
do most of those games have a subscription model or
yeah. RuneScape was one of them that ruined it. They had to split into two games.
yeah.
They went to old school RuneScape and started it all over again from 2007 because the pay to win model ruined the original game. So that's one thing, and players are complaining in World of Warcraft about their in the live game. There's too much. Oh, you're selling mounts and boosts and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why I wouldn't play World of Warcraft nowadays. So
Hmm.
I don't want to. I don't want to give them money for them to try to sell me mounts. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to give them a monthly subscription for them to have to sell me mounts or boosts or you know things like that. But I'm happy if Star Citizen
Mounts is
stick.
whatever, right? But the boost thing
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
weird.
But the boost is something else. Boost ruins it for a lot of players because the person coming up, if a new player comes in and he boosts, he won't know how to play his class. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He'll play for like that 1 week to get to level 60, but he still wouldn't know how to play his class. He won't know rotations and stuff
Okay.
like that. And that's what ruins the game. But
All right,
yes,
you've had like 20 minutes so far, so let's get your final
yeah.
thoughts in.
Yeah, my final thoughts is I hope that they could stick to this to the 3.13 roadmap and I'm happy for Chris Roberts that he had a very successful year,
That he's
you
richer
know.
than he was last year.
Yeah, that he's broken all these records, brought in new people to milk, as you would say, as you said in the introduction.
Hmm.
Um I'm happy for that. I'm happy for Star Citizen. You know, it's growing. You know, I'm happy that we don't have to that Cyberpunk took a bullet for us, and now we could point to that an example as a rushed game. And I just hope that we could in this next coming year we have actual gameplay loops that I could get into. I don't have to hop in the verse and be like, what am I going to work towards? You know what I'm saying? But
Bounty's cool, man. That stuff's cool. I like it.
wait, mining?
The bounties,
You said?
bounties.
Oh, but yeah, bounties are cool. A lot of people I've seen a lot of people on Reddit. They're loving hunting people nowadays. So, I'm happy for them too. I hope, but I just hope that we get more gameplay loops, especially for um us veteran players that's like done the basic missions, done the mining and everything like that. We can
Mm,
have something to work towards, just like how we had the masks in the starting. But yeah, it was a good end of year you know, report when it comes for the roadmap and the letter from the Betrayman, and I'm happy. So
cool.
that's my final thought.
As long as Unmatched is happy, I'm happy. All right, man. Unmatched, you
All right.
managed to make it an entire stream without mentioning, not Shroud of the Avatar. You know what I'm talking about. You
Yeah,
know.
Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, all right. You didn't do it. Good job, man. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
All right, bye.
All right, our next caller is Nukes for breakfast. What's up, Nukes?
Hey, what's up, Mike? How's it going?
It's going, man. Sorry, we kept you on hold. Unmatched is he's a yapper. He's a yapper.
No, it's fine, right? The whole point is for people to get in and speak their piece.
Exactly.
So,
So what is your piece? So, like on the roadmap letter from Chairman of Financials, anything that you specifically want to touch on from that, just feel free.
so the letter from the chairman, the thing that I found most interesting from that was the double down on no dates, no release plans. We're not going to make the mistake of, you know, they didn't say their name, but like Cyberpunk 2077,
Yep.
we're gonna release it when it's done. And like,
What do you think about that?
part of me, like, because I'm a software engineer and I
Yep.
have to deal with, you know, the constant push pull of, well, we want to release the feature to get the first mover advantage, but if we do that, you know, we're gonna have to maybe cut some corners to get there. So like from a quality perspective, that makes me happy, but at the same time, it's like it goes back to the, you know, he doesn't really have like a publisher holding him accountable, saying like, you need to deliver something at some point, right?
And they don't. They the interesting thing is like we're technically the publisher, right? But they care what we think sometimes. Like basically the whole idea of that briefing room debacle, like it was absolute debacle, was because there were tons of memes on the Star Citizen Reddit being like, where is Squadron 42? Like, what is this? You haven't updated the roadmap in forever. What's going on? And they were like, oh, you know, we're going to do this thing. And then it was just like, you know, they didn't really update on where Squadron 42 was, and they still haven't.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it. Like he's put out dates before. I think it was 2016, 2017, beta 2020, and like they've all slid to the right. They've all been missed, 100%. And so I get that he's burned on dates, and I also understand that the game that they're trying to build, like I don't know that people understand how crazy complex this is, because it's not. They're going to a level of not faking it
that's stupid.
Is mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous that it's almost. I think it's almost dumb. Like, can we? Like, sometimes I'm like, can we just fake it? Can we please?
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
personally, I like the idea of things being systemic, but like the priority is the problem to me. Like they seem to do certain things, like prioritize certain systemic things. It's like that's just fluff on top you can add later. Like where's the core, right? Like where's the core gameplay loops and the core combat, salvaging, damage systems, multi-crew, right?
but that's Star Citizen. So what? I guess what I want to ask you is, you don't seem happy with the fact that they doubled down. That's my impression from just your tone of voice and stuff like that.
So
what did you expect?
I'm not unhappy.
What would you want to see?
That was the most. Sorry.
Oh
no,
it's okay.
I said I'm not unhappy because like personally for me, and this is just my opinion, I prefer like the quality route rather than rushing it out the door.
Okay.
So I'm fine with them doubling down on like, hey, we want to get it right and whatever. But I think this is a point that you've made, you know, a ton, is that the part I don't like is that he essentially pulled back and said, we're not going to talk about SQ42 at all.
Yeah, like you gotta look at the roadmap and see what we're working on right now. And I'm just saying, when I do, it is light in terms of like, wow, you don't even have that done yet, right? I think you could look at Star Citizen and be like, wow, flight combat not perfect yet, FPS combat actually terrible. So like, what's like you said, like where's the focus here?
Yeah, and like even if you pull out the progress tracker view and look at the Squadron 42 stuff, like most of it is chapter 1 through 24. We're working on this chapter, and like it doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
So like to me, I think, and it's something that you've.
What about the mop and bucket?
Is like,
hey, mop and bucket though. We got that. You know?
I think it goes back to like the communication is not as good as it could be. And I wish they would just, you know, feel like they could be more open and honest with not only their successes, but like where they failed, and kind of retrospective on, yeah, we keep putting these dates, but that didn't happen because XYZ. Here's where we're trying to go.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't acknowledge that. And, I don't know. Maybe that's CR's job, is to just paint the rosy picture to keep, pushing forward.
Sure. I mean, I think it is, and I think the whole thing is he probably has a much better understanding of where everything is right now, and how far along they actually are. Like, it's very interesting that he sort of implies that it's not that far away in the letter for the chairman, but then does at the same time when he says, like, most people wouldn't announce this project until it's about 12 months out, and they wouldn't do any marketing awareness until it's 6 months out, and we're not going to do marketing awareness until it's 6 months out. But then I feel like towards the end he
Yeah, he says at the end, it says, all of us, including myself, are in closeout mode.
yeah,
I can't wait for
closeout
our
mode.
experiences.
Yeah.
It's
That
like,
was the
what?
one that was like, wait, what? Closeout? Like no way. So yeah, that is where my frustration with Star Citizen in general comes from. Is that right there. And he also did it later where he implies that the game is buggy, it's an alpha, and we're working on it, but it's also a live service, and we want concurrency, and we want you to play. And it's like, well, what is it? Because it's one or the other. It can't be both. I mean, it is both, but like some people just have to be. I don't get it sometimes, so yeah, it's tough.
I mean, from a live service concurrency perspective, right? Like that, being able to have that many people hammering on it is invaluable
Mm-hmm.
from a development perspective, but it's not a super great experience right now.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not going to be for a while. But oh, here, I'll find this part because this was the part that, oh boy, did it get me. Let's see. Oh man, where did he say it? Because it is troll. Where they talk about their shift in marketing. Oh man, I wish I can find it, but they basically, it's somewhere in here where he states that they shifted their marketing towards a playable experience, playable now. That's what they said, and they got a surge because of that. And it's like
it's at the bottom of the 2020 explosive growth section. It's in the middle of the last paragraph.
Bottom of the 2020. Okay, middle of the last paragraph. Yeah, I'll bring that up with us.
Yeah, it starts with some might think this is the old backer spending more, but it's only a tip of the iceberg, blah, 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 blah. And in the middle, the single biggest takeaway for 2020 is that we shifted towards a playable now narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, technically,
yeah, like
correct.
You could play it. But is it? Like, I am always curious because this is the one thing with me that, like, I'm an older, jaded backer. There's no denying that. That's what I am. And I always wonder, do people play this game and see it differently than I do? Do people play this game and get excited for what it might be, and do they get frustrated and not play it again? And what's the ratio? And I don't think it's kind of impossible to know.
I mean, there's a little bit of a hint, right? Because they say almost 1.2 million paying accounts, and yet daily active users is like 30K, right?
Sure.
So like, there's a huge group of people that bought the game, maybe come look once in a while, but like don't play it regularly.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I read from it. In my personal experience, since I currently am stuck with a potato computer
Mhm.
because all the scalpers buy up everything.
Same.
So mine, for me, it's much more about, I backed in 2017
Yep.
and I just bought the starter package. I haven't bought anything else. So like I have the luxury of, I gave him $60 and that's it. But watching the development process is like really interesting to me.
Mhm.
And then being able to jump in and like, oh, that cool new thing they added, that's cool. All right, and then like go off and do something else and not like actively play. Mainly
Yeah.
because my computer just won't let me.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if I like actually tried to play it all the time, the frustrations would like surface.
Hi, my name's SaltEMike, and the frustrations have surfaced. But I just it is interesting. Like somebody in chat said, are you implying that they're lying? Like, no, of course not. The game is playable now. But I'm curious if that was like if that long term is a good idea, or is it working really well for them in the short term? Like, hey, did they make a ton of money this year? But are they going to end up with more salty mics? And I'm more like positive about this game than I've ever been, but more people that get jaded and, you know, start getting upset about the state of the game than uh I don't know, people who are just like, you know, you're Joe Rune or whatever, like just, you know, use the white knight of Star Citizen, like he's the guy that would be labeled as that, you know, sometimes. And or is this going to be better in the long term? They get a little taste, they can see the potential of the game, and they're like, hey, it's not that good right now, but it will be. Because I think that's sort of where I'm moving towards, is like, wow, there's so much potential for this game that I'm willing to wait. And it's taken me a long time to get there, and it's taken a lot of conversations on this show to get me there, but I'm more and more moving to that. And I'm curious if more, like, most people experience it that way, or do they get frustrated and say, screw this, I'm never playing it again, this game is a scam or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I'm definitely
Sure.
in the latter camp of like the longer term. The vision
Sure.
is neat, and I mean, what they've done from like a technology perspective, like just with the crazy planet stuff, like is amazing. But
But it doesn't
it's
matter until we
there's
get
a dearth of
meshing.
gameplay, right? Like the problem is there's not gameplay populating that universe.
Yeah.
There's bugs preventing you from, you know, potentially playing the game that is there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much more of a wait and see. I have hopes for the future kind of thing than I'm going to get in and play it a ton now.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this in chat too, and this is, I guess they're saying it better than I did, and this is what I wanted to say about this specific paragraph and the playable now narrative, is that it is incredibly frustrating when they when things are going good, it's playable now, but the second that it's broken and you complain about it, it's, by the way, it's an alpha. So it's the double talk and the, you know, using this narrative when it's the game is acting this way, and using that narrative when it isn't. And that's where my frustrations as a Star Citizen backer stem from, is that communication right there, is that they're like a politician, right? And it's always deflecting in the direction that works best for them, and not what is honest at all times, I feel like. Because it's not like they're lying, but they're not being completely honest, you know what I mean? So it's like a little bit, it always feels a little bit, I don't know, corporate politician, like that type. And I don't feel like the backer that I was in 2013, 2014, and part of the project. I feel like a pay pig.
Yeah, they've definitely taken a turn towards the corporate PR. We're going to spin this in a good way kind of thing, away from the smaller, scrappy, you know, we're going to show it how it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They want and / need to make their money, and when you hire a marketing person, what are they going to do? They're going to push the good aspects because they need to get more paying people in.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on? We touched a lot on the letter for the chairman.
I had a question for you around your thoughts. So you pointed out the financials, right? The publishing operations, community events, and marketing cost. How I think this was almost an $11.5 million line item.
Yeah.
So it's steadily increasing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you actually think? I'm really interested. Do you actually think they'll ever stop selling ships?
No.
I don't either.
Nope.
But I also don't see
how it's going to ruin the game.
Doesn't ruin. Yeah, I don't see how that doesn't ruin the game long term, though.
Yep. I think it's going to ruin the game. And that is the thing that I keep trying to warn everyone about, is that is going to ruin the game. Because that should be your biggest achievement, is that massive ship. And when somebody bought it and you didn't, like, okay, look at the last caller, right? Unmatched was pissed off that they were selling mounts. So somebody buys this cool looking mount that you can't earn, you can only pay for, right? Star Citizen's a little bit different, where you could earn it and pay for it. But when you come across somebody with that thing, you don't know if they did or if they didn't. And I think that's where it dies. And that was not my idea. That wasn't my thoughts. I always go back to giving the credit to Saurus, WTFosaurus, now Saurus, for that one. Was he said it, and I was like, I need to get you on the show. We need to talk about that. Is when you see an 890 jump, you should be blown away. That, holy crap, man, that's an 890 jump. I can't imagine what that guy did to earn that ship. And then, like, in reality, he just swiped his credit card, you know? So it's just like, that's where it is, you know? And if they have space stations or something like that you could only earn in game, then it's different. The ships don't matter as much. The end game, the big achievements might be something else. So that's where I think Star Citizen, if you're always going to sell ships, you need to change what the end game goals might be and only make them in game, and then they can survive. But if that is not the like, I don't know what to do, right?
Yeah, I mean so if they stop selling ships, though, like, they still let you buy currency right now.
And they will. That was always the plan.
And even games like EVE Online, at least when I paid, I don't know, 5-7 years ago, you could sell little game time cards to other people for in-game credits to fund your fleet, right? But the end game there was always big orgs, lawless space. You build out your empire.
Yep.
And so it was more about the org coming together and, like, building stuff and doing resources. So if SC can get to that would be that end game you're talking about, where it's like the big players, massive fleets, owning territory. But at the same time, I don't know how you stop, if you keep letting people buy ships, I don't know how you stop somebody going and swiping their credit card for 20 javelins.
Hopefully, right? Reputation. Because you can have a javelin, but maybe you can't get the best components. You can have a javelin, but maybe you can't go to the system with it. You can have a javelin, but you can't land it on your space station with it. That's what I hope. That might be the only saving grace this game has. Because this game could be the most beautiful thing. They can have the best game design ever. But if I honestly and truly feel like if they keep selling spaceships, that will ruin it for me. I don't think that will ruin it for everybody. Because obviously a lot of people are comfortable buying them and all that, and they're happy with just flying around and whatever. But for me, it would ruin the game. And I don't think I'm alone in that.
Yeah, for sure, because it can kill the sense of achievement, right? Like,
absolutely.
I spent 100 hours grinding up to a 890 jump, and this dude just swiped his credit card and got it in a day.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm personally hoping that the gameplay itself makes the game worth playing. And if they can pull off, the systemic game loops and actually make things really interesting and emergent and fun, that's what's going to keep me playing, not trying to grind to the next ship.
Yeah, and I'm just responding to chat because people are being like, well, you spent tens of $1,000s on spaceships. I've said this a million times before, is I stream this game, so in order to show off like certain gameplay mechanics, things like that, I've purchased these ships, right? For the purpose of my stream. But when I play the game, when it goes live, like, I'm either going to run to this account where I have everything and show off the game and have some fun and do some things and be a streamer. And then on the other side of it, I am going to play starting just with an Aurora and play with that account. And that's it. But that's what I find enjoyable. Like, even now, I put myself through, I call it hardcore, right? And I make a rule set and make it more punishing because that's what I find enjoyable. So, yeah. That's me. Is there anything else you want to say before we let you go, though, Nukes?
No, I mean, I hope 2021 is better than 2020. Yeah. I hope they land some of those big tech blockers, because if those land and those actually do what they're supposed to do, hopefully that'll allow turning resources and burning more on actual gameplay features.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, all right, man. Thank you so much for calling. This is your first time calling, right?
Yeah, first time. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate all you do. Been lurking for a while, but
thanks, man.
Glad I could hop in and throw an opinion out.
I'm glad you hopped in. I appreciate it, man. Have a great one. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays. Yeah, thank you.
All right, our next caller is HeyItsNick. What's up, Nick?
How's it going?
It's going, man. Thank you for waiting. I know it's been a long wait.
Yeah, I was kind of yawning and waking myself up before you pulled me in. It's like, oh, I gotta start talking now.
So, what do you think on any of these subjects? What do you want to start with?
Well, I haven't honestly read the letter to the chairman thoroughly. I have dabbled in it, but it's just so long. I've just been like, I'll look at it later. And just kind of hearing what everyone else has been saying on it. But I mostly want to talk about the progress tracker, the roadmap, and the financials, because I find the financials both concerning but also not too concerning at the same time.
Okay. What do you want to start with?
So I guess we'll start with the progress tracker. First, I'm someone who's actually ecstatic with the roadmap. I love the progress tracker and what it shows. Honestly, I was expecting to see a lot less detail than what it was showing when they were releasing it.
I want to be clear before you continue. I am too. But I'm trying not to look at it because I know myself. And I know I might get excited about something and get really disappointed when that thing gets removed, right?
Yeah. The one thing I
think it almost shows too much. That's where I'm.
Yeah. They could have chose to show too much, but the way I look at the progress tracker is all those bars, I look at it as a slider that they can just drag and slide over at any time. I'm looking at it as it should be a live view on things can move and slide over and shift over at any time if you just click the mouse and dragged it over. So it's if this got delayed, slide it over a month, and we're going to be able to see that live view on okay, this got slide over 1 month or 2 months or a thing. And I just look at those as sliders. I don't see it as set in stone at all.
Yeah. But that's okay. You don't see it that way.
No.
But even then, I'm still going to look at bang, I'm going right to personal inventory because that's something I really want, right? And it's all right, looking like Q1 2021, baby. Here we go. Very exciting. And then if I see this shift towards March, I'm going to be like, oh,
yeah, but there is another caveat too, is that we only have 40% of the actual roadmap. And already you can see in other drop-down menus, the same subject in a different category at a later date. So already that just because that's completed there doesn't mean it's going to be completed on time because it has to also go down to the other department to work on at other quarter. So again, you're not even seeing the full picture yet on what will be coming and when, because there's also going to be, getting it ready for release after that.
Okay. So I'm trying to phrase this like, but being respectful, because I do like the roadmap a lot, but it doesn't solve any of the problems then. So the same problems exist, because if you have to explain to me that, oh, well, you see personal inventory finishing for this team in this quarter on this day, but over here it's showing that it's finishing on this day, and then over here it's showing that it's finishing on this time, and well, that probably means that it's going to come around now instead of then. And it's like, well, if I have to be MacGyver or not MacGyver, but like Sherlock
Look at
Holmes
everything
to figure out when
Like-
something is coming out, that really doesn't resolve the problems, because
I
I think it's CIG's got a big issue where they don't recognize what the community actually wants, in the sense of like, I want to know when I get to play my favorite thing. And the problem with release view was that, oh, I get to play my favorite thing in Q1 2020 or whatever, in 3.13.
And now you don't.
And now you don't. And all this does is show like what they're working on now, which is awesome. So in terms of people being like, you're not open development, this is a huge win for them. But in terms of, I think what a majority of the community is actually looking for from open development is like, what's the status? And I don't think this shows what the status of something is.
Yeah, no, I agree. It doesn't show what the status is. It also doesn't show it shows disciplines, but it doesn't show how many people are on that team. Like there was between 4 to 20 people in each discipline. So it doesn't show the team sizes that it's going to be working on. So you don't know and also you don't know how experienced each team is. So is that going to be sent to a team that's less experienced than like probably a senior team? There's a lot of variables and questions that we don't know, but so I don't feel like we need to know those stuff. I feel like this is more than enough information for us to at least understand that, like, what's being pushed back, what's being shifted around. This got delayed, so this can get pushed forward. If anything gets pushed forward.
Sure. Now, given that we're on this topic, but you said you didn't read the letter of the chairman that closely, did you come across the part where he explained that they plan on releasing more stuff to release view?
Yes.
What do you think about that? Because I feel very strongly about that. I don't think those things should be on the roadmap.
Because there's going to be like cards that are like grayed out to be like, we're planning it, but we can't confirm it.
Then don't show it.
I'm kind of like I'm split on that. I agree with you halfly, and I also see it the other way where it's just like it's a target, but they're not planning on hitting it. I don't know. Maybe they should have a separate one for being worked on for this quarter, but I don't know. It's just so weird. I find it so weird that they're showing it.
I feel very strongly of when it comes to release view, they should only show the next release. I don't know many game companies that don't some game companies have a real roadmap in the sense of we are working on a couple things. This is the plans for the future. Eventually you might get this, but there's no it's planned for this patch kind of thing, right? Yeah. And then they have roadmaps, but then after that, they only tell you what they're working on for the next release. That is it. And that is where they are going to bite themselves in the ass again. Is if they show everything, no matter what, it is at least my human condition to look at what is coming in 3.14 and get excited about it. No matter if I know it's going to get pulled, I'm still going to get, it's still going to kill me a little bit inside. It's going to eat another pice of my soul.
Like if they put salvage back up there, it's going to get
314 salvage. Like I want to purposely like mind block the word salvage out of my vocabulary. But if I see it up there and it's like, oh my God, they're going to do it. It's finally going to happen. If it is not the next release, I don't care. And even nowadays, if it's not the next release, like, all right, 313, right? It's the next release. We're in 3.12. Some of those items on 313 are going to get pushed. And in the letter for the chairman, he said that they're 90% sure that those things are going to make it. Are 90% of those things going to make it? I'm willing to bet no.
How many cards is there? Like 10? So like one thing will probably get pushed out.
No, I think more than one thing is going to get pushed out. So that's the I absolutely think more than one thing is going to get pushed out.
Yeah, I could see ship to station docking getting pushed back. That just seems like, for what they've shown in the past, maybe, but I don't see that being ready for release in 313.
Yeah,
I don't know. One Merlin to Constellation, yeah, but ship to station, that's a question mark right there.
See, I think it's the opposite, because the two ships connecting to each other that could possibly be moving or something like that, you have to be so perfect, where I feel like the station might be simple. So, it's automated after a certain point, I think.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have those like tunnels that you see when you have at the old past like landing zone where you had to go through the tunnel. I think they're gonna have that where you had to go fly into it and then it'll take over. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's gonna be too complicated. It's just like pathing a ship there and then boom, connected.
Okay, yeah, I mean it could be. I don't know, man, but anything. I guess anything on financials. I think you wanted to go into that, but I don't know if we touched on it or not. Too much.
Okay, no, we haven't touched on that yet. So the one thing I found really interesting, I calculated it really quickly, is that just for this year alone, for the 11 million and like 30,000 active users, like RSI had to pay like $366 per person for the entire year for their concurrent things, which in my mind is like, if we had to pay a monthly subscription, that would be like a lot of money per month. Yeah. That would be a lot.
The problem with that is that includes community and that includes marketing. And I assume that they put the marketing costs for CitizenCon in there. But what's good is CitizenCon was in the UK, so you can kind of go like, oh, they spent like $1 million or $2 million on that. But then the 7 million is the interesting one, because the community team is located in Austin for the most part.
Another concern about this is like,
it's mostly servers.
If a lot of the backend servers and everything, and like the total cost 11 million for only 30,000, what's it going to look like when it actually scales up on release and we have like 500,000 active players?
That is my biggest concern, is how far are they willing to go to keep the lights on? And that whole pay to win thing that we discussed earlier. And that's why I think that line is the most important one to look at, is because if it's somewhere in the $5 million range a year to run the servers, because I think you can kind of figure out maybe that's about what it is. If you take out like marketing and community and things like that, and look, okay, Austin is where the servers team is, then what's it going to be? You know, what's it going to take to keep those open? That's kind of scary.
I don't like how they mixed in marketing with backend services.
Because they don't want you to know. They don't want to make it obvious, I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of backend services. How many backend services are they using for like just development, like getting Quanta ready and like testing Quantum and all that, right? That's going to need servers and everything just to test. So how much of it is for testing? How much of it is actually for the live environment and PTU environment? Exactly.
How much of it is them sending builds out to tons of developers that, may not be there when the game is released. So like my concerns may be overblown or they may be underblown. It just depends. It's hard to read that line, but I still pay most attention to that one.
Because of marketing, we know they have outside investors specifically for marketing. So how much of that money was used for marketing and how much was the backers' money used for that? There's so many variables that just aren't shown in that one line of 11 million.
Exactly. And I think that's purposeful because they knew we would like try and figure it out like we are now is because of server costs. I wonder how good of a deal they have with Amazon, given that they're developing a lot of tools probably for their engine, and who knows. But it is the one thing that as a non-game developer, non-software developer, just stupid, NA education guy that just plays a lot of video games, I do have a concern when I look at that because I wonder the length that they're willing to go.
Yeah, no, and it's completely valid concern because it's just like, well, if it costs 11 million for 30,000 players, how much is it going to cost for 500,000 active players?
Because that's what we would hope, right? Yeah. The dream, like I think we all look at this, and that's what my expectations would be: is to have quite a few, at least in the six figures number of players concurrent. Otherwise, I would think the game's kind of a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. But yeah, I guess, is there anything else specific you'd like to touch on?
I think we touched on everything. That was a good talk.
Yeah, man. It was fun. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for staying awake for me.
No problem.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on, Nick. I appreciate it, man.
A good one.
Be good, buddy. And our final caller. It's been a long time. ASN.
Hello.
Hello, man. How you doing?
Good. It's been a while.
It has.
How are you?
Good. So your game is released?
Yeah.
How does it
released
feel?
Before Star Citizen.
How does it feel?
Oh, it feels amazing. Like it's been a journey. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's like a long tail, but feeling great. We made it across the finish line, day and night, years, and it kind of amounted to something great. So, yeah,
Nice.
I'm as happy as can be in this lifetime.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this stuff?
It's quite interesting. So let me give you a little, I just wanted to give my perspective because looking at it from what we've been through and now looking back at this, it's quite it's changed my mind a little bit on certain things and changed my mind.
Let me hop in real quick though, but can you give a background of yourself, game developer wise, and just you can say the name of the game that you released, of course. Because some people are asking in chat.
Oh yeah, sure. So basically, I started modding in 2012, which I really enjoyed, and then after a while, I took that up and kind of self-taught myself game development. Ended up working for Paradox, All-For-All Industries, Strategy Mill. Worked on some strategy games like Terminal Conflict, Hearts of Iron, and then also worked on the shooter Squad. After a while, I decided to make my own game because I wanted to kind of have that creative expression and get through the experience of running everything and releasing a product and connecting with people over the internet through the medium of games. So basically developed a narrative role-playing game called Suzerain, which is a mix of political sim but with a focus on a story. To kind of get the psychology of politics and leadership to the people. So they get to experience it, they get to enjoy the drama of it, but at the same time, they get to question our reality and how everything functions in our society and how much our psychology affects politics and the individual and how that reflects onto society. So that's a rundown.
Yeah. I just so people have an idea of where you're coming from, that you know your experiences and stuff, that you're an experienced game developer, and you know, you didn't make like a mobile app that nobody plays or something.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, yeah, I've about 8 years now, 8 years of game development experience, but I don't have AAA experience, so that's a bit of a different thing. I think people should understand that whenever they talk to, like, it really changes from where you're looking at in the industry. Like,
Sure.
I'm more of an indie dev. Like, I did work on smaller scale production, but you know, Squad still was indie, and
Yeah.
like, I mean, Paradox was a bit big. It was smaller when I was working there, but like, yeah. So these operations are much more different, like Star Citizen. These are like massive things.
Yep.
But my perspective is it's quite interesting. So about the roadmap, I'm just going to go through one by one.
Sure.
The roadmap, I think, was exactly what I wanted from Star Citizen. Like, it is literally a total breakdown. I mean, they don't have everything right now, but that's what they're going to fully accomplish. I think that's what they said. It definitely separates the release, like what the player needs to know, like as somebody that just needs basic information. The release view is like, hey, this is probably what I'm going to get next quarter.
Yeah.
From the actual internal planning. It also displays like how many people are assigned to each deliverable. I don't know, like, if anybody's out there to correct me, but I've never seen a studio open up this much of their internal production
No, it's
to
crazy.
the outside.
I haven't one issue with it, that it's when you go to the roadmap, the progress tracker is what you see first, where I feel like release view might be what you should see first, as long as it's only the next release.
Okay, for me, it's the release view that comes up first when I go to the Star Citizen roadmap.
Oh, really? Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe
it's
wrong,
whatever
though.
you were on last.
Could be.
Yeah, for me, it
like,
goes
if you
right to
go-
progress tracker.
So if you go incognito and the roadmap Star Citizen, it just sends me to release view first. But I don't know. I think it's a great step. I think like as previous callers mentioned, Chris giving out estimates did backfire several times, and his estimates like obviously lead to people's expectations and all that stuff, and everybody's aware of this issue. Like, it's been 8 years, nothing new.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that there are these like production estimates out there that are as deliverables, and there's so many of them that, you know, like, oh yeah, it's not just like one item that's being estimated. Like, everything is just like an estimation here.
There is
But
a
this is what
mop
they
and
are-
bucket estimation, like, and it's 19 weeks. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and like you get
They're
like
doing
a full
everything.
breakdown. And I love this because you get to feel how the planning works, how much like the tickets for tech debt and fixing are amazing. Like, that they've included even that. Like, it shows that they really, like, they went through this a couple of times. They're really more aware now. And I shared my concerns at SidCon last year with some of the developers. We had like some long conversations with some of the CIG devs about the disconnect the roadmap creates and how much like unnecessary frustration it creates in the community.
Yeah.
Because production targets a certain thing in like a quarter, but the reality of the development doesn't match that. And whenever it misses it, not only does the community get frustrated, I'm pretty sure the developers also get frustrated in the studio.
Sure.
So now everything is laid out quite, widely, and like it is like more obvious and more like overall, where like, hey, if it gets pushed forward and backward, like you see the general plan. So it's not as like, oh yeah, like it's not going to be this quarter, it's going to be like next quarter. I mean, it already is an insecure like 3 quarters ahead anyway. Like, nobody knows like if it's going to be another quarter after that. Like, but we know this is the overall plan, and I like that. I think that's really good.
I have one question. Would it have made more sense to... I think I said this previously, but like, let's use, I don't know, you could even use a ship as an example, but what was I looking at before? I wanted to see personal inventory. So would it make sense to, instead of show like, I don't know, the teams, show the item line, personal inventory, the overarching personal inventory thing, and then show all of the tasks that it requires to make that.
Mhm.
Because they're kind of doing that, but like I have to go to actor feature team, and then I have to go to something else to see. I don't know, maybe I have to go to another team to see that the other tasks for that.
Yeah, I
So it
think
gets kind
I
of
think that's a
confusing.
website improvement they can make. They can definitely connect the
Like I could
different
double-click on it or
the
something.
teams working on the same subject. They can connect them with a certain tag or a color code, or visually like link them whenever you click on one, it highlights the other underneath on the website.
Mhm.
Automatically. It just expands that column and just like puts them next to each other so you see them. There is a lot of websites improvements they can make. Like it is like at the core, I think it's just fine. And it does one more thing, which is like very important. It gives anonymous but still real ownership to these teams. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that, from a developer perspective, I can say this. Like if you have your team name on there, and if you have a task set for like, let's say, probably it's going to take us 6 months. It's listed. It's been talked with production. It's out there to the world, and it starts as a community wants this feature. It gives you ownership as well, because this is your team and this is your people, and it's really important to have that like teamwork and that responsibility and that ownership. And also with a project that's open to its community, like you also feel responsible to the community. They already do, but this is like a front facing, like, hey, we own this task and
Yeah.
we got to get it done. Like it's a psychological thing, but I think it matters.
I think
Um,
there's a negative to that too, is
Yeah,
that
for sure.
people who watch the shows know who is a part of some of these teams and are going to be assholes to them. And I think it's going to make people less likely to come on camera.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be downsides, but
Sure.
if you're working for Cloud Imperium, you've kind of bitten the bullet in certain things already. Like I gotta say,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not
True.
like it's open. Like you're here, like probably, like it's going to be, a very close relationship with the community. And looking at what happened before, the back and forths, you know about the possibilities, I guess. And I think it's CIG's job to protect the team's stress and like manage their reps, whatever happens, how much public facing they are. It's also their job to take care of their developers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think the roadmap is definitely really nice. I wish just all the teams were there, but I really do hope they do add
That's
them
coming.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
The letter for the chairman, I want to touch up on that as well. Also before I move on about Squadron, and I'm going to connect that to the letter and the financials on the roadmap wise.
Okay.
I think they've done a good job on Squadron on displaying on the roadmap as well, because now because previously the issue was it was a quarterly like release view for Squadron that wasn't releasing, and I mentioned this several times over that like the previous roadmap worked halfway, but Squadron did not work at all. Like Squadron was so disconnected from everything, because it would show a release view, like a quarterly release type of progress view, but it's not releasing to us anyway. So we don't get it. We don't understand what is coming out or not, or what is like being delayed, right? You cannot gauge it because you're not playing it.
Yeah.
So it was like worse. So now at least we see what team is working on what part of Squadron, and those teams are broken down, and we can see a rough estimate of how many people are working on Squadron. So it gives like a better understanding of how that progresses. And it is also separated from the release view, which represents Star Citizen. So I like that now. So like it's a clear distinction between, this is something that comes to you, and that's the MMO part. I mean, like small multiplayer FPS MMO right now, but that part. And then the other thing is like something that we're gonna release in the future. So I like that distinction and how it's displayed as well. So that's fixed, I think, in my head at least for some stretch.
Okay.
The letter, I think the letter had like a couple of interesting points I want to highlight. Is like the bottom of the letter includes a section about Chris mentioning new people, and kind of highlighting that the older backers don't need to maybe spend as much money, and don't need to spend
why even say that? I found that really weird.
As much energy. I think there are a couple of reasons. And when you said they're like like corporate politicians sometimes, and that's the thing. As your operations grow this big, you have to be a corporate politician in certain degrees, because people will, like, some people, not all, but like some people will eat your honesty. And like, I have the luxury to be honest as much as I can. I really push the boundaries of sharing information with on our journey, what we've went through. A lot of companies don't share their stuff. I mean, obviously, people exploit this, and I'm always like giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. That's my thing. And Chris, there, I think what he's doing is, I think he notices that the most loyal, the most hardcore, the most like vocal part of the community is like the older backers, and they're the least satisfied because they've been the ones who are waiting for the longest time.
Yeah.
And we're like worn out, basically. Like,
Absolutely.
I am the October 2012 backer, and I'm a very weird one. So I don't even count myself as part of the salt miners, you know, like because like I'm always like, you know, we can do better. Like, we need to give proper feedback. You know, we need to march on. Like, I'm always that type of person that like tries to look for solutions and tries to get people to move on those things. So I don't want to look at things that like, oh, it's not going to work out. Like, that's not my type of mentality. So I'm not the person that Chris is addressing there. I think Chris is addressing that this vocal community is creating an image of the game sometimes that it just doesn't work, and it doesn't work. And that's the sad part of it, is that CIG cannot admit that this game doesn't work, because when they do admit that, they lose these potential new customers, they lose these, you know, all this marketing stuff, they lose that, and that hurts the operations, and that hurts the chances of the game someday working well and smoothly, right?
Yep.
So it's this like cyclical thing, and when you strategize as a business manager, you have to think about all the moving parts, and this is like one of the moving parts. The old backers are that, and the way he addresses that clearly says that, okay, the new players are now funding this and carrying this more than you do. Maybe just play the game, like, try to give us feedback, make sure you help us, and we just march on, and we get more new people every year, and it's a cycle that continues to fund the business and the product. That's the message I received there, and I think that was the reason why that was written.
Yeah, but then
and
their actions are completely different, right? Like, new backers aren't buying the Perseus. Old backers are. Like, things like these large ships, you know? And then, I don't know. I don't know, man.
But that's the thing. I think a lot of new players are also like putting a lot of money into this game.
Yeah.
And I think what they're trying to achieve is trying to like minimize the owner, like the investment of the older backers with the new players. I think they just want to have a new, you know, like wave of people all the time, and have them spend money on bigger ships as time goes. Because the free fly events were like marketing genius, because you get a lot of new people in, they get their, you know, little ship, and they get frustrated by the amount of like work you need to do to progress in the game, and then they end up buying ships, right? Because like, you know, people have sometimes this disposable income. They're like, okay, here, get a ship. They get one ship. We know how it goes. Like, it's like a tattoo, you know, like you get one ship. Oh yeah, what's this shiny thing? Am I gonna like grind for 40 hours in non-persistent game that, you know, breaks on me every third, fourth day, or like sometimes every day?
Every day.
Like that takes every day. Like, it takes my progress away and stuff like that. Like, no, like I'm always gonna swipe that credit card, and I'm gonna, you know, hit that. And that's how you kind of get your customers in this situation, which is, as you mentioned, detrimental to the game sometimes. But it is what finances all of this, and there's no sane investor, there's no sane publisher that would finance a game like this and R&D as much as they do, and try to like do these things the way they do. So it's this like it's just a weird, like, you know, between rock and a hard places.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely.
We wouldn't
that
have
didn't
Star
change
Citizen if they didn't.
Exactly. So that's the thing about this project. I think the only thing that can save that is if they focus on those gameplay design mechanics, if they focus on certain things that reward the player, not the swiper.
Yeah.
On like making sure that they get an advantage by putting in their time, because time is more expensive than anything. Like, you can't buy back time. Like, it's so important. Like, a player's investment in time is the most valuable thing, So every time somebody puts in 10 hours into my little game, I'm like, they've put 10 hours of their life into this. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I put 4 years of my life into this, but they put 10 hours of theirs. I don't know them. And like, that's very important for me because like, it means something, right?
Mhm.
And when people come to your game and start like Star Citizen for hundreds, thousands of hours, they're really loving your idea. They really, really love your concept, what you're trying to do. You just got to make sure you respect that and try to be there for them just as much as, you know, they were for you. Yeah. So the letter also displayed a couple other things: the growth and the player base and the recurring players. And I think it gives some stats. The stats are nice because we felt like they were hidden for a long time. I don't think
Yeah.
they wanted to display them 5
'Cause
years
they're
ago
not
because they weren't that good.
Great. Yeah. But I don't even think they're that great right now either.
Yeah, they're not great, but I think that they're realistic for a game like this, and
Yep.
I think that's good. The the increase is a positive sign, and what I think really is interesting about releasing a game and like running a company like this is like the financial situation, which I'm going to touch up on like right now from a psychological perspective of running a business. I've fought tooth and nail in the last 7 months to make sure our company operates for another year without any issues, right? With
Mhm.
security, basically. Like I've pretty much done everything I humanly could, and I succeeded. And that the luxury Cloud Imperium has is insane. So to give you an idea, like they can probably right now operate as is for another 5 years, like from what they have. And I think this type of luxury is another thing that drives the choices of a business manager. And it's something, that type of security gives you that idea of, yeah, you know, there is time, there is money, you know, there is time to, you know, do it the way we want it. And I think that drives a lot of Chris's decisions. And it's a great place to be as a game developer. Honestly, it's a luxury. Like this is a luxury that probably 80%, 90% of the industry just doesn't have, and
Yeah.
maybe even more, 95.
I think more than that.
Like,
Yeah. I don't think any company
it's
has the
something.
luxury to make $80 million off of a game that is not released based off of pictures of a ship that you might make 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Nobody
It is
has
insane.
that luxury. They draw a picture, make 80 million. It doesn't even have to function.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And that's when you like when the idea, you know, sells. It's like the idea sells and the content is trying to catch up to the idea as time goes by, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is like, in some ways you could like see it as like, yeah, it's, you know, it's screwed up, but like I think in certain ways it's also kind of the only way to
brilliant.
do this, because it's hard to see another way.
Mhm.
Unless you have 500 million and you just start risking all that money away, and then start like, you know, doing it like proper normal sales.
Yeah, like the
Anyway.
Ashes of Creation thing is a little bit different and weird because that one guy is just funding it himself, and I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, that's why I'm saying is like Chris is it doesn't feel the pressure of oh yeah, like if we don't release Squadron in the next year, we're going down. Like, and that type of pressure makes you think differently. It makes you cut corners. Like whenever we release this, our little game compared, like production wise, it's nothing compared. Like we're one small team of CIG, like one small team, one of the smallest teams that they have probably. That's our size. So it's completely different, but we had to cut corners because money and time was running out, and we did certain things where we're like, okay, you know, we might not need this extra thing here because this part of the game is more important, and that needs to conclude in quality or in better quality. We might not like need this there. Also, like we might need more resources because time is running out, but like we don't have more time, so we need more people. So like we had to make these decisions, those hard choices. I had to make them because the reality was stacked up against us with Cloud Imperium, with Star Citizen. What reality stacked up against them? They're gonna make 10 million profit this year, like probably. They probably 10 to 15, I would imagine, anywhere between 10 to 15, unless they spend a lot. But like that's insane. They're turning a profit after millions of investment they've got. their investors have much more money lined up, so they have that security, and there's that crazy growth, right? That is going to lead them to profit this year. It shows whatever they're doing is working, and as long as they iterate and move on, it's going to keep working.
Yeah.
And that's why Chris doesn't feel the pressure to release a game. And that is interesting, because whenever Cyberpunk released this year, I was wondering to myself, because they released their data, they have so much money in the bank. I was wondering, like, if they knew like the game wasn't ready, why did they
wouldn't
push
they
it
just
out?
wait?
Like, they could have spent their own money just for a little bit more, you know? They don't have to do a Star Citizen and wait another 8 years, like whatever. Like, they can just wait like 6 months and like make sure everything functions as best as it can and then release it, because they had the luxury, but they didn't do it. And there are other decisions behind that, probably. There are things we don't know.
Yeah.
But it was unnecessary. But for Star Citizen, like, it's kind of like, you know, they have like even more security than that. They have like a running business model that just like is continuing forever. Like, they look at like the next 5 years. They don't look at like, you know, the next year, like, whoa, what are we gonna do? Like, they do look at it, but it's just a different mentality they have now, because of that security. And I think that's why everything gets pushed to R&D, everything gets experimented on, everything gets iterated on. There's no cutting corners. Like, there's no lack of resources that will push you to cut corners. And that's what drives this whole production, I think.
A really interesting take. And I would just ask this is, yeah, it must be a luxury from a studio head or Chris Roberts' standpoint, but in what case does the pressure that we put on to have a release product matter? Or does it not? And should it? Like, I'm more, because like I feel pressure to like I want to play the game. I feel like I'm putting pressure on. And does it matter? And I know that like there's a lot of us that are like, hey, I want the game. I want to play the game. Can we stop doing R&D on everything as much? Can we focus here? I don't know if that's like a reality or a real thing that, like, you know, I'm not a game developer. I don't know all the ins and outs of this stuff. So is it even realistic for me to act that way? Probably not. But at what point do we become... Does the pressure that we provide matter? The only way is to not buy spaceships, obviously, but the I don't know, where do we come into that scenario that you just discussed? Because your outlook from a studio head standpoint is really interesting and really eye-opening to the fact that, like, yeah, this is really good in some ways, but from the perspective of me, it feels really dangerous and scary. Like we lost like a big member of the Star Citizen streaming community this year. He never got to see this game release. Who's next? Yeah. Right? Like there's that's a reality, and that's a real thing too. I don't think that that should be a deciding factor for anything here. Like let's get real.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate.
But it is a reality. That's all I'm trying to say. You know, because I think that's kind of ridiculous to be like, well, people are dying, Chris. Like, you need to make your game. I don't think that that's really something that it is acceptable for me to say. I'm not saying it in that way.
Yeah.
But it's been. I'm just saying it's been 8 years, and at what point is massive, enough? Obviously. You know?
And like, you know, you want to hear the cold hard truth from like. And this is just, this is my, like, I'm not like, the thing is like, you have to put yourself in other people's shoes and you have to look at the situation, kind of like analyze it. And I, as a person, like, I don't think like this because I try to avoid thinking like this, but it feels to me like the reality is that it's like we are a stepping stone. The old backers are a stepping stone. And
you got me here. Thanks, guys.
Like, yeah, Cloud Imperium is gonna, like, it's with us, they came to be, and we're gonna be here, but like we're gonna like this breed will get less and less, and like because we're tired out, we're waiting, and like it's not gonna be the same for us. But every year these new people come in and they will get excited. And from their perspective,
It's
it
so
is-
hard to see their
they're looking-
perspective too.
yeah, and from their perspective, it's like the stuff they do in 2 years will really matter. The stuff they're doing right now is just slowly building up to that, right? So it was like OCS one was one step. Remember like how we went from like small to like bigger map, and then
To be
like the
fair,
tech got a
we've
bit
said-
better. The frames
We've said exactly what, like, I gotta interrupt you. I'm sorry. We've said 2 years' time, it's gonna be good. 2 years. We've been saying that every 2 years for the last 8 years.
Yeah, but that's how you run a business. If you're operating for, you gotta keep people coming and people be with you, and
Mhm.
that's the part of the political side of this is you got to convince your crowd, and
Yeah.
they are convincing their crowd more successfully than anyone. Like it is
Yeah.
insane.
It's
They've
true.
convinced us beyond like anything because the idea is great, and I honestly think with these developers with this money it is possible. It's just we are worn out from our perspective. Whatever they do, it won't be enough. Like even if
Yeah.
they released everything in 2 years or 3 years, it won't be enough for us. But it might be enough for those hundreds of thousands that will come in the next 2 years. Because for them, they've just seen the end of it, and then they've seen it take those last steps, and then like get to a good place. So it's all about like keeping that like machine going,
Yep.
and making sure it keeps rolling. And only the people at the very end will really enjoy it, and we will be all worn out by it. And that's the truth. I think that's
I
that's the
disagree with
reality of the
that.
situation.
Oh man, I disagree with that so hard. I think the fact that I was along for this ride the whole time, undoubtedly, I will be pleased with every aspect of the game because we all created this vision in our head of what it might be, and then what it actually is always going to be different from that. And the person at the end just knows what it is and didn't have that, what it might be moment. But the being through the entire process and the being able to provide feedback and actually make an impact on the game, whether you're a streamer, a YouTuber, somebody who posted something on Reddit, on Twitter, on Spectrum, everybody has kind of impacted this game in one way or another. And I think being there at the end, I will feel more rewarded than the person who just bought the game to play it that day. And they might enjoy it,
Yeah,
they might
definitely.
not,
But from a customer perspective, like you're being rewarded, yes, from a backer perspective. But you have to think
Okay.
about it like
What do you mean?
just
What's
think
the
about it.
difference between a customer and a backer then?
Like exactly. Like when you back this game, you back the expectation of this game. You didn't back the game.
The person
as
at the
it
end
will
is the
be.
customer, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the customer is the person that looks at Star Citizen and okay, like I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna have the promise here. And I think that part is very important because, like, I gotta say, it's in the games industry, it's nice to be like early access is nice, following things and backing things is nice, but
Mhm.
following things and backing things for 10 years is like an edge case. And just
course.
think about how many people left this community. Like how many backers were just tired and done, and they don't look at the game for like every 2 or 3. Sometimes they're like years now.
Yep.
Like we're the minority, I think, left from like those people because we just have a different type of outlook, and it doesn't hit us as much. But from a normal person's perspective, you pay money, you get an experience, and you hope that's the experience that you paid for, right?
Sure.
And always the people who get the most polished version of a game will have the best version and the best experience. Like that's just how it is. Like
Yeah.
even with our game, if you get it like in 3 months time, once we added even more patches, even more features, you're going to have the best version of the game, unless we fucked it up. That's also possibly, but generally that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So if you could time skip the entire development of Star Citizen and get to the end, won't you time skip? I'm just asking you.
No.
You wouldn't?
Nope.
Okay.
But I'm a streamer, so it's different.
Yeah.
I think most people. I think most people.
I can
would.
say
I don't think
would.
I would.
I would, because I just want to see the dream realize.
Yeah.
I don't. Being along the realization is great, but when the time skips, like when the time things to travel, like when not travel, the time range is this long, 10 years, I cannot spend that much energy every week or every day or every month over the course of 10 years on something.
Yeah.
I can spend it a bit every now and then. And I've loved, I went to SitCons, I've met Chris, I've met Aaron, I've met like the management team pretty much, like and the lead designs and on sound teams. These are all amazing people. I love the journey. I'm a very pro journey person. But the reality is like it's all a step towards the end goal. And the end goal is the realization of that concept. And at the end, that's what matters. Like the journey matters really a lot too. The feedback matters a lot too. But think about like everything that you've given feedback on that got absolutely wiped, like and changed to something that you cannot even recognize anymore. And those iterations, yes, they were helpful, but there are a lot of things that are going to change that they're just going to change like the entire thing. Like it will be reiterated and rechanged until you don't even recognize it from 2015 and 2014 or 16 or 17. There's still so much to go. So it's really, I think it's the end goal that matters. And I love the journey. I'm kind of more on your side, but I always think about from the perspective of customers and other people, get that empathy going. You got to understand what the majority is looking for. And the majority is looking for a released game and a finished product.
Everybody was capping me in chat when I said that I wouldn't skip, but like there's like just to from my perspective on that, it's so different when you're a streamer and a YouTuber and a content creator is if I want to do this full time, right, which is absolutely 100% my goal, being there early and being there during the steps of the ways is usually how you become successful in the end when it releases, right? Like if I just made content on day one when the game released, I would be in a sea of people where I'm in a pond of people now, so it's a lot easier. That's kind of why I mean that perspective, right? But if I was just playing the game, I absolutely would just wait until it was released.
Yeah, I mean, and also like, we're lucky because we met all these amazing people. I mean, I met, like you through this, and like I met so many awesome people at SitCon. I met so many awesome people at these events. Like it's nice to be a part of something that's like more experimental, and you're there along the journey. That's for sure. But the majority will always look for the game, and that won't change.
All right. Well, I mean, should we end it there, or do you have anything else you want to touch on?
One last thing is like to kind of like summarize like what I really love about this project, and I will continue loving it, is like that ability that where they say, okay, what is the best way we can do this? What is the most unique way to implement this feature? What is the most like complex thing we can accomplish here? I love the technical aspect of this project. I love really how they say, we want to create a systematic version of this. We want to create the best version what this can be. And I love that they have this luxury, and I love that they have developers that will go to the absolute limit to make this happen. The realities are much more difficult, but this is a one-of-a-kind thing. And that's why I will back this to the very end. Like I won't stop backing it. It's just that I don't have the energy to follow it every quarter because I don't think it is at a place where it's ready for, from a consumer enjoyment perspective, to be played for me right now. And I think for a lot of people as well. It's there for those people who just love the existing experience and love the journey and want to give feedback, want to help. But definitely for me, I've taken a step back because I've hopped in every 2 quarters, and I've had like very rough experiences with the servers, especially. That's why I think like server meshing and the MMO part of the game is like what is the most important thing that needs to come in the next 2 years or whenever. But yeah, from a bigger picture, it's that next big thing, the most like challenging aspects and the technical R&D that they're doing. That is like, it needs to be an inspiration for the industry, I think. And that's what I appreciate about this. Nice.
Well, ASN, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your perspective. That's obviously very different, and very insightful, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and it's always a pleasure to come on. I think everybody on the show had some really good opinions. And just to clarify, I'm much more of a empathetic person, so I try to like put myself in like the shoes of different people, and that's why I kind of like, with the experience I have, I combine that and then try to get an idea. What I say doesn't represent anybody at CIG or anywhere. This is just an idea of it, just to
Of
get
course.
that out.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
But
I
it opened
really
my
wish
eyes.
everybody
It really
luck
did.
at that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, ASN.
All right.
Again, ASN made this show. So if you're for those of you guys that are like more recent, like we used to have ASN every single week, and it literally built this show. So ASN, this year was a really great year for me as far as Twitch and YouTube and this possibly becoming a reality of being what I do for a living, and I want to thank you. You were a part of that, so I appreciate it, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
You definitely are like leading the charge here. Amazing influencer content.
Thanks, dude. Now you're
Twerk
making
17?
now you're back. Get out of here. He's gone. I got rid of him. I don't know that name. I don't know what he's talking about, okay? I don't know what he's talking about. ASN, happy holidays, all the health and everything to your family, okay? I hope you hear me. But yeah, I had to get rid of you. All right, everybody. That is it for today's show. I appreciate all of you guys watching. And if you're watching on Twitch and you didn't catch the whole show, you missed a couple calls, it'll be up on YouTube soon. If you're watching on YouTube, stop by, say hello, come check out our Discord, ! Discord and chat. If you're on Twitch, I'll put it in the link in the description below, as well as all of the posts of the things that we discussed today, and Scissorain. I will post that in chat. ASN's game that released just a month ago, I think. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll put the link in the description for that as well. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful and healthy new year, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again in 2021.